أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. I have some slides, but it's far away, so TV is a little far. So for this week, there was a question from a student who didn't come yet, but let me read his question. It says there is a non-Muslim asking while they were having religion conversation within double quotes. The questions are more like the following: if there are people who follow their own religion and adhere to good rules, except for small details like eating pork, why do you assume that Islam is still the only true religion? By own religion, he means non-Abrahamic religion, not just Islam. So he says the question is more like, why are you so sure that other religions might be corrupted or invalid and that yours is the only one that works? Even though there might be people following these religions with multiple gods and doing good, how would it make a difference if I follow them instead of Islam? So this was the question. This was one of the questions that we listed before. I don't know how much we discussed it. But since it's recurring, I thought it might be a good idea to rediscuss the matter. What do you think? Does the question sound familiar, reasonable to you, or what do you think? Let's first get some opinion about the question. Does it sound familiar?
Yeah.
And you have some non-Muslims in the family?
No, Muslims.
Oh, your whole Muslim family is Muslim.
No, but
Oh.
the Muslims are the ones that ask questions.
Okay, Muslims
Yeah.
are the ones that ask the question. Okay, okay. Good. What do you think? Have you heard about that question before? You heard it? And you had an answer for that? Somewhat of an answer. Okay.
I think it stems like you can, because I don't think you can establish what faith is right based off of the morality, right? So, for example, if you had an island that had Gandhis and Nelson Mandelas and all the pious people, and then they're like the people that we look up to in terms of like moral standards, right? And they were like the kindest people and they were the nicest people in the world. They never argued, never got angry, always smiling, and they decided to worship trees. Because they have the right morality does not mean that they have the right faith. So you cannot connect, you cannot say because you agree with the morality, then the faith is right. It only works the other way around. If the faith is right, then the morality is right. So you cannot so if you want to be like basically how I'd respond to the question is basically trying to prove that Islam is right rather than addressing the question of the morality of Islam. Like if you believe that Islam is right and everything, then by extension, everything in Islam is moral.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like there are multiple assumptions in here, which we will try to unfold. Okay. So any other initial comments? Thank you for that comments. Any other initial comments?
I would say that faith is really individualized.
Faith is individualized. Okay. What do you mean by that?
For among Muslims too, what they think of Islam is like there's general grounds. You need to pray, you need to do all those, like the basic strong foundations of Islam. But other than that, how we approach Islam or how do we think of faith is really individualized. In my
Okay.
I had a friend in my high school who asked me that question about like why why should we think that Islam is correct or the other religions are wrong. And my answer was that in my perspective, how I think of Islam is correct and everything, I'm a logical person.
Okay.
I think of if the other, let's say my religion says that there's only one God, and my friend's religion says that there's like hundreds of trillions of gods, right? If there was actually a balance in the nature that we see, and there's like hundreds of millions of gods, I feel like there would be like chaos everywhere.
Hmm.
In my religion, I see peace because everything is controlled by the one.
Hmm.
And another perspective of when I think about faith is that I think it just gives you the lifestyle of peace.
Hmm.
That was just like my explanation to him.
Okay,
And
very good.
he was like, we can still do this, that, but it's just like more of logical grounds that I can explain to him.
Okay.
And then, and as you said, the moral grounds, that it comes from individualized.
Okay. Yes.
Like for me, it's like a skewed perception.
Okay.
Because for us, the biggest sin and the biggest, like the worst thing you can do is to disbelieve in Allah. So like doing good and everything, but you're doing the worst
Hmm.
thing doesn't really mean it.
That's interesting, right? Because the questioner is asking, and the questioner came, so we will put you on the spot. So there's this assumption of good deeds or like good character, good morality, and whatnot. And yes, as you said, disbelief is the biggest crime. So somebody who is disbelieving yet doing or demonstrating good characters, what do we mean by good characters becomes an interesting question then. And Zareen makes a comment online. She says, another version of the question I have heard, there are so many religions out there. How can I really know which one is the truth if I don't have time to fully study them all? Is another version of the same question. That's right, another version of the question. Okay, yes, Ibrahim, so where did this question come from? Your question. I just read your question before you came. So anything more you would like to add to that question?
Yeah, I would say from a friend, and it was more like he wants to discover more religions, and I think that it's like an excuse to not look for Islam.
Was he a Muslim friend, like ethnically or historically, or okay? Fine. So let me ask you a question then. When we say religion, what comes to mind? Because the question was assuming as if like small details, other than small details like eating pork and whatnot. This was the way question was formed.
Yes.
Like the person is a good person. So there's religion. What is religion? When we say religion, what comes to your mind? Let's talk about what constitutes religion so that we start talking on it accordingly. When such a question comes in general, for yourself also, like if you are not having a very comfortable answer to such questions, this probably is because the words are not having a thorough meaning in your mind either. Like, what is religion? Because in the society that we live in, many of the words have very shallow meanings, and those words maybe doesn't have anything to do with its true meaning. So let's try to understand what is religion in the first place, so that we can channel the conversation in a meaningful way. Even for your friend, when your friend asks such a question, I would say let's pause for a second and ask the question, what is religion? Do you need such a thing in the first place? Maybe you don't need any of them. Why do you think that I have to pick one of them? Right? So what is it in the first place? Yes.
When I think of religion, I think of a set of rules. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
A set of rules is what comes to mind first, is it?
So, the thing is, like, when people think of religion these days, usually the definition that people usually have is something that you do, like a set of activities you do that brings you close to God. But that's like what people mean, because if you restrict definition to like the way of life, or like a set of rules, I feel like it encompasses everything. Every culture could be a religion, and every like my culture could be like even if it doesn't bring me closer to God, but if I set it as like feminism could be a religion in that sense, because it's not restricted to anything that brings you closer to God. So if you just like make it a way of life or like an ideology, then it encompasses everything.
Okay, so let's go a little more specific, like set of rules, and you said also it should encompass some sort of.
I think the actual like the proper way to define a religion would be anything that brings you like any ideology or activity you do that brings you closer to a God.
Okay, like Satanism is, I guess, another technically speaking, could be considered as a religion which takes you closer to Satan. Maybe, I don't know. But we are trying to find out. Can you give a few examples of what you mean by rules, or so that we continue from there also?
So, again, it's just what I like. I totally put myself in the position where I am the people that think that, you know, like as a human, just in general.
Mhm.
But I think of, you know, the difference between Islam, like praying 5 times a day.
Okay.
Christianity says pray on Sunday. In
Okay.
Islam, it's on Friday.
Okay.
In Hinduism, it's you do other things. There's temples, there's churches, there's mosques, and
Okay.
so it's all these different
Symbols.
symbols and again practices
Okay.
that are like denoted. Like you have to do this in a certain way, which is why I use rules as
Okay.
a
Very good. Very good. Yes.
I was just gonna piggyback off everybody, as I mentioned before, it's just like a lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Set of rules, set of an ideology where you're leading your life through it. You're waking up in the early morning, you're praying, then you're doing your thing again.
Mhm.
And also the fact that if I think religion in terms of like Islam, everything we do could be worshiping God.
Very good.
So
Very good.
that's just how I think. But like
Okay.
if I'm talking with him, if I'm hurting him or not, like that's just also like comes into religion for me.
Very nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like how way of life
Okay.
thinking about
Way of life.
rules.
Very nice. Yes.
I would say it's
Belief,
the way of life.
a belief system that
Influence.
influences the way of your life. Okay. Very nice. Very concise. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just whatever you believe in, like in everything that you do in your life, what is your end goal? Like what gives you purpose? Like the brother mentioned like family and your religion. I think if like in your life everything you do is related to that, if like all your actions are in relation to that ideology, I think that could be a religion. Religion doesn't necessarily mean that like you believe in God. Like some people
Which God, right? Which God? Then
Exactly.
comes to the question.
atheism, say that's a religion. So whatever you believe in and base your life on could be your religion.
Okay. Yes.
I think for people in non-religious countries, West or countries that are secular, when they hear religion, they think, oh, it has to be spiritual.
Okay.
Like, there has to be a God that we pray to, that we worship, that we ask for things. Whereas in religious countries where spirituality is a norm, it's nothing abnormal to anybody.
Mhm.
Religion in that sense is Islam, Christianity, Judaism, all that kind of thing. So when speaking with someone who is not familiar with spiritual, in the spiritual sense, it's best like what we've all said, like describing religion as not just, oh, there has to be a spiritual God that you cannot see, that you cannot grab hold onto, but whatever guides the way you live present. Okay, my goal in life is I want to be X, Y, Z. That is my target. Whatever I take on as my rules to reach that, whatever I say I cannot do because it goes against that goal, or I must do because it goes that target is for religion.
Mhm. Good. Yes.
Or that religion, I think in the general sense, if we don't just think of spiritual or like as we think religious is, right? It could be materialistic too. Like my goal of life could be just earning money.
Mhm.
And I could be working 8 to 5, after 5 to 10, like I'm working and working. Some might call it religion too, because my whole life is based on money at that point.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, I decided to take the point, just like individualized.
Okay. Very nice. So, very beautiful. Then let's start from there. I heard multiple things. One was the rules, but rules is more so in the sense that you can take it as a laundry list of do's and don'ts, but we can also take it as a way to live. Like, how many days are you going to the gym? 6 days. So, like, for him, it's just a way of life, and he is convinced that it's useful for him, and he has a schedule for that. It's a rule set, but it's a lifestyle. So sometimes when we say rules are being a little intimidating time to time, but he doesn't seem to get intimidated by going to the gym or feeling obliged to, although I don't know why, but feeling obliged to going to the gym. So it's a lifestyle for him. He is convinced about it and he thinks that it's good, so he goes there. So yes, there's this lifestyle aspect of it. Like he is submitting to his convictions. Like he is thoroughly convinced that it is worthy to torture himself with all these weight and whatnot. And he goes and makes this gym thingy 6 times a day, much more, oh, sorry, yeah, 6 times a week, much more religiously than an average Christian, because an average Christian, if I understand correctly, goes to the church once, like on Sunday, but he goes to his church 6 times a week. So he's much more religiously following or submitting to his conviction. Like I'm also convinced that it's a good thing to have a healthy body, but I only walk from home to work to home. So I'm not a religious person. I didn't submit to my conviction about being healthy. Make sense?
I have a question. 2 questions. Second, question.
Okay.
First one is,
We are just starting. Go ahead.
First one is, so would you consider if I created a timetable or schedule for my day where I have to do a minimum of 2 hours studying every day, regardless of whether it's a weekday or weekend, would that be a religion? Follow-up question is, if it is going to be a religion, is it possible for someone to have multiple religions?
Okay. So let's get there. We'll get there. But what I'm trying to distinguish with this explanation is submitting to his conviction is like he has a conviction and he's making it a way of life. He is submitting to his conviction. Is this clear? What is submission? Islam. Like in the verses, the Creator is talking about today I completed al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. Like this is one of the very last revelations. After 23 years of revelation, the revelation concludes by saying, today I completed your religion. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. Let me see if I put it here. Okay, I didn't. Very bad. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu lakum. Go ahead. Somebody recite it. وأتممت نعمتي عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Right? So today I completed the religion. Actually, today I completed for you your religion, which is interesting. And I completed my favor upon you. And I have been pleased with Islam as a religion for you. This is generally how we read it, because Islam became the proper name of that lifestyle. But is it a proper name, or the word itself is also saying something? Are you submitting? So religion in there is submitting, because this is 23 years of revelation being concluded with there. How did this revelation start and continued for 23 years? When you say religion, the first thing I would expect to hear would have been, there's no God but God, like La ilaha illallah. And this is not the basics of religion. This is the soul of religion. Sometimes we call it as basics of religion. We take it for granted. Everybody accepts this anyways. It's easy. No, this is the soul of religion. Like your soul is not a basic part of you. Your soul is really you. Yes, you have eyes and ears and everything too, but these are the peripheral devices which feed the soul. So when we talk about Islam as a religion, and if we take Quran and the embodiment of Quran, Prophet ﷺ's life as it, because really with those last verses, Prophet's life also concluded, like his mission concluded, his life concluded. So Islam being completed as a religion meant revelation ended and the Prophet's life ended. So this is why when Abu Bakr radiallahu anh heard this verse, he was upset, saying that, oh, this is a sign that the Prophet is going to die. So, but there's a 23 years of life. And this 23 years of life and revelation started with read, and it was all about La ilaha illallah at various different perspectives. But we tend to reduce it to shapes. Shapes are there, rules are there, but they are there for a purpose. Like, for example, in our classrooms, we have assignments, we have letter grades, we have midterm, final, and whatnot. All this setup is there. If a student comes and says, well, I heard that I need to get an A, that's all I care about. The A is a symbol of your learning. Yes, you need to get an A, but by itself, A is a meaningless, stupid letter. Doesn't mean anything. But if it is a symbol of your learning, then it becomes meaningful. Otherwise, by itself, it doesn't mean anything. Rules, do's and don'ts, eating pork, drinking alcohol, not drinking alcohol, and whatnot, by themselves, they don't mean anything. Because we tend to come up with explanations as such, right? Quran or Islam prohibits pork because, and then we start try to come up with explanations, or because porks are dirty. Well, the porks out there are cleaner than the sheep that I slaughtered. Like I slaughtered the animal, and it was so dirty. Everywhere was with, you saw it, right? So if I can find a clean pork for you, would you be eating it? So what is the meaning and purpose that makes it meaningful? 23 years of revelation. Is there an open microphone? Okay. So 23 years of revelation, and the soul of this revelation being La ilaha illallah, needs to be reflected in this letter grade A, or your prayer, or you not eating pork. Otherwise, this behavior by itself doesn't make much sense. Likewise, in the question was, the person is a nice person. What does it mean to be a nice person? Like, for example, if I distribute candies to the children I see in the street, you will say that this is a nice person, right? It is making children happy. But what if I am just distributing these candies to the children because eventually I am trying to just observing the children who is more likely to be deceived by candy, and then eventually one day I'm also getting to know how families are strict with their child. I'm going to just take the child and become part of the what's an organ mafia. I'm going to sell the body parts of the child. You would say, oh, this is a horrendous thing. Even when you were just giving candy to kids, it was a horrible act because you were just fishing for child. Yeah. So we always use the word intention, right? But where does the intention come from? It's a very within MSA circles, our intention needs to be clear. What does intention need to be clear mean? Definitely our intention needs to be very nice and clean. But what cleanses intention? What cleanses my motivation to be clear? La ilaha illallah is the thing that's going to make it clear. Otherwise, I will start developing alternative agendas. I would say that, oh, I am giving this halakha to those young people so that they will think that how knowledgeable of a person I am. But if you praise me, I will say, astaghfirullah, of course I'm not. But deep inside, I'm perfectly being happy to just get the nods that you guys are doing. You don't know. To the extent, and I should be blaming myself for that, by the way. You should be blaming yourself for that too. You shouldn't be trusting yourself, saying that, no, I'm not like a person like that at all. I should keep blaming my nafs so that I get to say that, no, he is the one who creates, not me. Because my nafs wants to get some sort of a share. This is who we are. Just look at yourselves. If you do some good, at the end, are you having an urge to make an advertisement of it? Like, nowadays LinkedIn is the environment where people are advertising themselves because this is how you get into the job industry, right? But we have our different LinkedIns within our social circles too. I'm trying to find an opportunity to bring up the topic so that they will realize, oh, you know, by the way, I did this, like sort of a thing. What am I trying to do with that? I am trying to claim some sort of a praise from that event, which is exactly opposing La ilaha illallah. So La ilaha illallah is not a detail, it's not a basics, it's everywhere. It is supposed to be everywhere. This is why 23 years of revelation started with that, ended with that, but more so in the initial phases, it was mostly about Iman billah, belief in God, and Iman bil Yawm al-Akhir, in the resurrection. The Meccan period were much more so related to belief matters. Before starting to touch life itself, Quran constructed the mindset of a person. Because this is where you first need to, I mean, if you would like to take it the first second, it's not pretty too much linear, but we do see that more so in the initial phases. It was more establishing La ilaha illallah in people's lives. How much is La ilaha illallah established in my world? This is a strong tenet of religion. This is part of religion. Iman is a huge part of religion, and Iman is taken so much for granted. And in the absence of that, like when the person asks the question, it's a totally behavioral question, right? But if Iman is missing, then you are missing the soul of all the actions. Then pretty much we are talking about a corpse. Like if I take your soul away, you just become a corpse. You will rot eventually. So behavior without Iman, acts without Iman in there, what are we talking about? This is why in our perception, when we say religion, what comes to mind? Is Iman coming to mind the first? If not, then we need to revise our understanding of religion in the first place. Because this is where a huge difference will start making. Again, in do's and don'ts, there are a lot of differences too, which makes a huge difference in terms of Islam versus other religion. But we didn't come there yet. We are talking about Iman aspect of it. Yes.
This one is so great flow again eating pork example. What I understand is like there is two parts. Forbidding this is kind of mercy from God to us, and also a test to test our iman. La ilaha illallah. Is that
well, when it comes to practices, like why not eat pork, but eat, let's say, camel? Yeah. Then I will ask the question, what am I supposed to learn from that? Like, because as part of my training, the creator says, eat camel or, I don't know, beef, but do not eat pork. Then I will say, well, then this is part of my training. But what am I supposed to learn from that is going to be my question. There's something to be learned from there. Pork is not inherently bad. Camel is not inherently good. Since the owner of camel said that you can eat it, we eat it. If God tomorrow says you can eat pork, I will start eating pork. I won't have any issues with that. Because the owner of the pork says you eat pork, I eat pork. If he says you don't eat pork, then I don't eat pork. Because even within Islam, isn't it that we can eat pork if we are dying, starving? So if it was inherently bad or evil, I mean, you wouldn't even touch it or get. So the point is not that the thing itself is bad. But within the creation, the owner of the pork says, no, you're not going to do that. But how do we build this? It is sitting on top of Iman. So I'll take you to a verse from Surah Al-Hujurat. It says, قالت الأعراب آمنا. So, okay. I messed up the translation here. Anyways. قالت الأعراب آمنا. So the Bedouins said we believed. قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. It's an interesting verse in this case. He says, قل لم تؤمنوا, say, no, you did not reached a conclusion. Iman is being secure and sure. No, you are not sure and secure yet. ولكن قولوا أسلمنا, but say we submitted. Which is an interesting dichotomy now, because what I was talking about so far was somebody not having some sort of an iman, but not submitting. Or, as this verse is saying, that it could also be that you are submitting to something. Let's say, yes, I'm not eating pork, I'm treating people good and nice and whatnot, but I didn't believe yet. My la ilaha illallah is not there, yet I am submitting to the rule set. Verse is interestingly challenging us about this one, because this verse speaks to us too. It's not only speaking to the Bedouin Arabs. So, قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Iman did not enter your hearts yet. وَإِن تُطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَا يَلِدْكُم مِّنْ أَعْمَالِكُمْ شَيْئًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So let me see. Okay, as these verses continues, the next verse talks about mu'minun. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. Those are the believers who believe in Allah and His Messenger and have never since doubted. وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ, and then strived with their wealth and with their lives, فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, in the path of Allah. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. These are the ones that are sincere ones, they translate, but sadiqun means trustworthy, or ones who confirm, tasdiq. قُلْ أَتُعَلِّمُونَ اللَّهَ بِدِينِكُمْ. Very interestingly, now the conversation comes to deen. Like after these two verses, say, are you going to teach Allah your religion? وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. While Allah knows that which is at heavens and earth, are you going to teach Allah your religion? وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. Allah knows everything. يَمُنُّونَ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ أَسْلَمُوا. Interestingly follows on. They are trying to make it a favor that they submitted. Sometimes it happens like this. Look, God, like I have been this young, hot-blooded person. I now can do all the things that I'm not doing out there, but you give me success in my classes. I do this for your sake, and you do something for me. As if I'm taking it as a transaction. I am making my submission to my Creator as a favor to my Creator, as if. Right? Where do we put religion in our lives? These are very interesting verses. Am I expecting a favor from the Creator because I submitted to my conviction? I'm not eating pork. I'm not hanging out in parties and whatnot. God, I mean, then you should give me some A. You know, data structure is a hard class. Like, you know, all these infidels, they are getting A plus, and I'm getting B. Come on. I am starting to turn it into a transaction, as if I feel like I am making a favor to God by submitting to, right? بَلِ اللَّهُ يَمُنُّ عَلَيْكُمْ. Very interesting. Say, deem not your surrender a favor unto me, but Allah does confer a favor on you in as much as He has led you to the faith. You being able to submit to this conclusion is a favor of Allah to you. It's not that you are offering a favor to Allah by doing this. Am I aware of that? Because generally where we are taking it wrong sometimes is we take religion as a culture. Because most of the time it is a culture, unfortunately. Like it looks like Muslims, or let's say people of Oman wears like this, people of Pakistan wears like this, like Turkish people wears like this. It's like a style. Islam is another style. This is why, interestingly, recently it started popping out. People who say, I am culturally Muslim. Like, I don't believe in God or religion or whatsoever, but I don't deny that I'm culturally Muslim. Because it's a cool thing nowadays to preserve your identity, whatever that means, and your identity, like religion as a culture. This is what we need to see if I have a share of this understanding. Because religion is supposed to be 23 years of revelation plus 23 years of prophetic life. It's a lifestyle, but rooted at La ilaha illallah, rooted at resurrection, rooted at belief in prophets, rooted at belief in scriptures. Scriptures meaning God talks to me. Have you ever tried to talk to your creator? Because this is what it means. Belief in scripture means God talks to you. Then go and listen and start a conversation with your creator. Am I convinced about that? Like, think of it this way. Let's say university's president, so unreachable. Like, eventually he sends here and there some emails, but communication is one channel. He talks, but when you talk, he doesn't listen, right? Still, he talks. But I mean, you're not very much interested in what the president says because he's so distant. Your friend talks, but you're interested in what your friend says, especially if it's a friend of the opposite side. Then if the message comes, you get excited, right? Your creator is talking to you. Are you getting excited? Belief in scripture means my creator talks to me, and I can talk to him through my prayer. Is it making me get excited? This is part of religion. If religion is not encompassing this understanding for me, then that means to me religion sounds like just culture, Arab culture, Muslim culture, or a mixture of, let's say in Turkey, we have this Turkish Islam. Sounds so awkward, it is there. So what is it? Turkish culture with Muslim culture. But by Muslim culture, we mean, since Turks learned Islam from Persians, like Turkish, Persian, Arabic, Islamic, like mixture of a thing. If this is my understanding, then the question your friend asked is very correct. Says, how do you know your culture is better than my culture? This is what it means. And you cannot judge that. That's right. But when it comes to the meaning and the message, starting with La ilaha illallah. Yeah.
He was seeing this as an identity.
Yeah. Identity. And again, this word is a very weird word because nowadays in the current society, within the last 20, 30 years, maybe more than 30 years, let me see, from 70s, but more so after 90s, there is a discourse built on top of identities. Black Lives Matter, LGBTQA, whatever. Building things on top of identities, or Palestinianness. Even Palestinianness nowadays is being tried to make as an identity. We need to preserve this identity, not for the sake of justice or anything. It's an identity. So identity, as it's being used nowadays, is a problematic word. So there do we see, like in a world, if we are talking about La ilaha illallah, which identity is there? The identity belongs to the creator. He is the one who gives existence to me. I am just a servant. This is the identity Quran is defining for us as humans. You are an abd. Even best among us, Prophet ﷺ, what do we say about him? He is a slave. This is how we praise a person. This is how Quran is praising Prophet ﷺ as a slave. In contrast to today's words of identity, identity is something that makes you unique and different and preferably better than others. This is what an identity is for. But when it comes to the way Quran is representing it, we don't talk about identities the same way. Because once you put La ilaha illallah at the center, the best and probably the only proper thing you can become is becoming an abd of your creator. An abd means he is my provider, he is my sustainer, he is the giver of beauty, he is the giver of intellect, he is the giver of strength. Whatever you were supposed to be claiming superior to, you say it's not mine. How can I be proud of something that doesn't belong to me? So this is why everything, like the perspectives are so different. And as I start redefining or re-understanding religion as such, yes, it's a lifestyle, but lifestyle rooted at this conviction that I don't own myself, yet I am being provided constantly. What should I be then? I should be extremely thankful to the one who gives it to me. Like if department gives you a laptop and says, well, you can use this for such and such and such, but you cannot get into TikTok from this computer because it is owned by the university and we do not trust TikTok. It could be doing this and that, China, you know, all the stuff. So no, then I say, okay, it's their laptop. I cannot use it. They impose a rule on me. If I am convinced that university owns this computer, I have to abide by what they tell me to do and not to do, right? And it makes perfect sense. I'm not feeling like they're restricting my freedom. Well, then give away the laptop if you don't want to use it. So Islam, the submission is sitting on top of your convictions. And to the extent that you're convinced, your submission is going to get strengthened. And as much you submit, your convictions will increase. It is pretty much like taking a class. You take a class, there's lecture portion, you listen, you understand, you ask a question, teacher gives an answer. So there's the cycle of learning, and then you do an assignment. Because generally, when I ask a question, leave students 5 minutes to themselves, they come up with all different sorts of wrong answers. Fine. Then I say, okay, let's solve it together. I put up the right answer. I walk students through the right answer. And at the end, they say, ah, it's nice. I say, okay, this is what I did actually this week's quiz. I made a proof twice during the week for the lecture. I said, close the books, close the laptops. I posted the same question again. I said, do it again. Do the proof by yourself now. Seeing the answer and saying that it makes sense is different than you solving the question. Everybody watches a 5-minute video, YouTube video, how AI works, large language models, 5-minute crash YouTube video. And you say, wow, I understood it, right? Who understands whatever? I mean, it makes sense somehow, but it doesn't work. I mean, you cannot implement a large language model, an AI model, by watching a 5-minute YouTube video. So do's and don'ts of religion is to practice your convictions. You have a conviction. You said that La ilaha illallah. Is it really? There's no God but God? Okay, give zakat. Give money to the needy. And then giving money to the needy, you will say, I am giving it to you in the name of Allah. Do not thank me. Thank your creator. And also in your heart, never ever think that, look what he did. I gave him $5 as zakat, and now he is spitting in my face. Even if he spits in your face, you shouldn't be feeling any sort of a bad feeling in the sense that, oh, how unthankful that person is. I did them a favor, and is this how you're returning the favor back? Zakat is a domain where you can practice La ilaha illallah. Not eating pork is a domain where you can practice La ilaha illallah. Now, there are 2 plates. In one, I mean, they are cooked. They look the same, okay? They're not even the animal. Like, it's just one stick of beef, a stick of pork. You say, well, the owner of the 2 is the same, the creator. He is the one who created both. He created both clean and beautiful. But he said, do not touch this, but you can eat this. This is why when starting to eat, what will you say? In the name of Allah. I am eating this in the name of Allah. I am taking this from Allah. I'm not taking this from the camel or the pork. I'm not thankful to the pork. I'm not thankful to the camel. I'm not thankful to the Mother Nature. It's a domain for you to practice your conviction. Do you live by your convictions? This is why it is called submission. And in the verses that I picked here, I couldn't put it there. It's very interesting. It starts by saying Iman and talks about Islam. There was another one. Let me see. Yes, this one. This is from Surah Al Imran, verse number 83 to 85. أفغير دين الله يبغون وله أسلم من في السماوات والأرض طوعا وكرها وإليه يرجعون. Do they seek for other than religion of Allah, while all creatures in the heavens and on the earth have, willing or unwillingly, bowed to his will or submitted to him? The word used in here is aslama, but it's used for things in the heavens and the earth. Like, look at the formation of the sentence. It starts by saying, are you looking for another religion? Although everything in the heavens and the earth submits to Allah. Aslama, the word aslama is used. قُلْ آمَنَّا, the next verse, قُلْ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْنَا. Now, religion was mentioned, submission was mentioned, but submission is mentioned for the whole existence. Next verse, قُلْ, so what shall I say? آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وما أنزل علينا وما أنزل على إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى والنبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون. Say, we believe in Allah and in what has been revealed to us and what was revealed to Abraham, Ismail, Isaac, and whatnot. Iman is brought up. Religion was mentioned, submission was mentioned, and Iman is being brought up before anything else. Before salat, before this or that, Iman is being mentioned. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا. Now comes the next verse. Islam and religion is now being put together in the same verse. And who seeks as religion other than Islam? But how shall I take Islam now? As a proper noun or as submission? Because 2 verses before, it was used as a verb to say that everything submits to him. Now you should take as your religion submitting. Submitting to what? Previous verse was about what? Iman and revelation. Submit to, because what's revelation? Revelation is like, Quran is not a how to do prayer book. How to do salat, how to take wudu. How many verses are there about how to take wudu in Quran? 1 or 2 verses? 1. How to do fasting. How many verses about that? 3, 4. How many verses about how to practice Hajj? There are verses about Hajj, but how many of them are detailing practices of Hajj? We learn details how it was practiced by the Prophet ﷺ. Quran is mostly talking about Iman matters. This is why I say Quran plus prophetic life. So Islam is then submitting to this conviction. Let's rephrase our understanding of what religion is. Religion starts, and a huge body of religion is Iman, and it also has to be lived in life. It has to be manifest in life. This is why in there cannot be Iman. I mean, technically there can be, but it wouldn't be beneficial to have Iman and not Islam. Meaning, I am convinced that there must exist a God, that God talks to me, and then he sends messengers, there is an afterlife, there's responsibility, this and that, but I'm not living by it. I know that there's one God, but I say, well, what would harm God if I eat pork? Come on. Or if I say, well, I mean, this sort of a small mistakes here and there, I mean, come on, you're just exaggerating. The important part is just being convinced. But living by that, or even as, like, America is a religious country. Where's Ibrahim? He left. He said the West is not religious. America is a religious country by its establishment. Like Europe is not, but America is a religious country. And the founding fathers, you heard about the Jefferson Bible? Founding fathers, they were quite religious. Thomas Jefferson has his own Bible, but it's an interesting Bible. He removed prophets, like he cut and pasted pieces from Bible, making his version of Bible. Like he's not making up verses. He's taking verses from Bible, but he is discarding the verses about prophets. and miracles of prophets. Why? Through prophetic example, we get to know that this conviction is livable. I don't mean by that we learned how to do prayer by prophets. I don't mean that, because Quran could have put some pictures. I mean, there had been such prayer booklets, you know, like stand like this. Like when we were kids, there were two, like the boy is standing like this, the girl is standing like this, and then they're taking pictures of it. It's possible. Like, it's not that, oh, technology was not there. Like, we are talking about the creator of human. What sort of a technology are you talking about? The point of prophet is not to teach us how to take wudu and whatnot. The point of prophet is, yes, how to live with this conviction in your life, which means the prophet is not the person in our example who gets A the whole time. A is a meaningful thing if you learn. Like, I can easily distinguish most of the time two students. One of them is like, both of them could get all A's. But once you start talking to the student 5-10 minutes, you said, oh, this is an imposter, and this guy knows what he's talking about. Both of them are A's. Both of them are 4.0s, right? Prophetic path is getting an A, but thoroughly learned of an A, not ChatGPT type of an A, right? So in our lives, following revelation to see how I'm going to make sense of this life, plus how do I live by it now, submitting to this conviction, Iman and Islam, these are the two. And if the two are together, I live a content and happy life. Iman without Islam, we talked about this. How about Islam without Iman? We might be in that situation as well. I am born into a Muslim culture, Muslim family. And I take Iman as, yeah, Islam has one God, la ilaha illallah and whatnot, and this and that. Prophet, yes, Muhammad is the messenger. What does this mean in my life? Not much. When they ask, I say, yeah, it happens because of chance. It happens because of millions of random happenings. Or I say, well, yeah, sun is rising. The weather is too hot because, there are more hours of sun in this, longitude and whatnot. So Philadelphia is hot because of that. Sun is warming me up. What did I say? How about la ilaha illallah? So my conviction is not there really, other than just a lip service of la ilaha illallah. But in my life, I am practicing, apparently. I give zakat, I do this and that. Which should question, how much of a zakat is my zakat then? If la ilaha illallah is not there, or not too much there, I'm not saying 1 or 0, because to the extent that la ilaha illallah is not established in my life, when I do zakat, I will expect people to thank me back. Or when I am giving zakat, I will make a tweet about it saying that, Alhamdulillah, we gave $20,000 or whatever to this neighborhood of us, our community is mashallah, and I'm going to put a lot of Islamic words in there. And I'll even take a picture of when I'm handing it over to somebody. What sort of a zakat is that then? La ilaha illallah is not there because I am seeking credit for this favor. I'm not seeing it as my creator's favor to me. Like being able to give zakat to somebody to observe my creator's providership, it's a first-hand experience. Your creator says, I give this money to you and I would like you to give it to somebody so that you know me as the provider. I should take this as a favor of my creator to me. But rather, what do? Thank me. Or sometimes, if you don't thank me, I say, oh, how rude of a person. At least he should have said yes. Why? He shouldn't have said thanks to you. So this is why Iman without Islam is problematic. Islam without Iman is problematic. And in a few sentences, if we are to talk about how do you know your religion is better than other religions? Put Iman at the center, and then as, what's your name, Muhammad? No, yeah. Muhammad. As Muhammad was saying at the beginning, when we talk about La ilaha illallah, it makes a huge difference. Once you start talking about La ilaha illallah, This is why if you are talking to your friends, bring the discussion to La ilaha illallah. If your friend brings up, let's say, how about evolution? I don't know. Let's talk about La ilaha illallah. I don't know evolution. I haven't been there billions of years ago. Let's talk about how this human being is happening right now. Let's not go to billions of years of before. This person is in need of water. This person is in need of his heart pumping right now. Let's try to understand how this is happening. And bring the discussion to La ilaha illallah. I am saying this, do it for your friend, but in fact, it's going to benefit you. Maybe your friend is just doing it for getting some cultural or nice intellectual conversation. We need this. We really need this conversation to happen for ourselves, because we think that religion is culture. Religion is not culture, should not be culture. Yes.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Can you just La ilaha illallah?
Okay.
Like Buddhism.
Buddhism? I don't know Buddhism. I don't know what its tenets are. But
But saying that, for example, it's providing rituals and make a person.
yeah, so I mean, I have a friend who is coming from a Muslim background culturally, but he is visiting nowadays Buddhist temples. And we had a conversation like this with him. And he was talking about being nice and happy and this and that. I said, for what? How can I be nice and happy if I am dying in this existence and it's end of it? Why shall I be nice to people? What's the point? Like, come up with an explanation to me where this is coming from and where this is going to. Being ignorant to that, pretending as if, well, nobody has answers. This was the response. Nobody has answers to this, so don't bother. No, I am bothered by this. I cannot pretend. I am bothered by this. It sounds like what this don't bother sounds like is, you guys are making an investment to this university, 60K per year, and you're going to graduate. Many of you here are CS majors or CCI, right? College of Computing and Informatics. Job market is horrible. And you're bothered by this. I say, well, don't bother. Like, everybody's on the same boat. You say, well, but I put 60K per year here. It's troublesome. Like, I am putting an investment. I am going through that. And eventually I will graduate. If nothing is going to happen afterwards, how did I end up in this university in the first place? Like, this is a very basic human question. But when it comes to life, where am I going to? How did I end up in here? Well, nobody has answers. Just be nice to each other. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you will just pull your hairs. Like, where's this going? So just being genuine with yourself. Do not pretend. Do not take the title of defender of Islam or anything. Really, first yourself. See it for yourself. How much of a mu'min and a Muslim am I? Do not assume that I am a mu'min and I am a Muslim. It's a trajectory. Like, La ilaha illallah is a trajectory. On one end is Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. On the other end is like Pharaoh. And Pharaoh even put his forehead to the ground at his last moment. This is another extreme case of unbelief. This guy is a total unbeliever, which means that every unbeliever is going to have a sense of belief somewhere in there, which is a threatening thing, which means, where am I in the spectrum? Where is my La ilaha illallah? In here. Don't assume that since I said La ilaha illallah, I am a believer, a perfect believer. I should blame myself so that I can fix it.
I was supposed to say, if, like, I don't need a religion to tell me don't kill someone. I wouldn't kill someone because.
Yeah, I mean, he's right in there because the creator really put that compass in you. He made you hate killing someone, right? You don't need religion for that. He's right. You shouldn't be killing because this distaste for killing is already engraved in human being. But I should rather ask the question, where did this come from? Like, if you find these eyes in there, where did these eyes come from? Don't you ask that question? I mean, these are very basic human questions. If your friend or you find, like, you check your bank account and you see some extra $1,000, If you're a sane person, you would say, well, I was not expecting this $1,000. Is this a mistake? I mean, if you're an opportunistic person, you would say, oh, don't ask, don't say anybody. 1,000 plus is good. But this is our behavior, unfortunately. We do see these extra $1,000 every day. Another healthy day for you today. Nobody owed you a healthy day, but in your account, you find a healthy day today. Very happy for that. Where did this come from? We don't ask that question. Once you ask that question, you need to then find yourself in trouble. Really, where did this healthy day come from? If you can find an answer to this, again, you don't need religion. But you cannot find the answer to this. What is my evidence? Humanity tried to find answer to this question by themselves, which is now called history of philosophy. Now look at the history of humanity, how much philosophy was able to provide answers to these very fundamental human questions. And then turn your face towards Revelation and see how Revelation provided answers to humanity about that. This is a huge distinction. I agree with your friend. If I can find an answer by myself, of course I don't need God or anything. But I am not able to. This is the problem.
I don't agree.
Why?
I don't want to like go off a completely wild tangent. But if someone finds an answer for themselves, it's not the right answer. And this is basically why. You can use different methods to arrive at objective morality without religion. Right? Like,
okay, very loaded terms again, but go ahead.
you can use different ways to arrive at what is right and what is wrong without using religion.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so for example, there's a philosopher called Kant,
Okay,
and he has this branch of philosophy called Kantian deontology,
okay.
which is basically if it allows for stability and if it's something that can be done consistently and everyone did it, would the universe still exist? So for example, murder. If everyone started killing everyone, would human beings still exist? No. So therefore murder is wrong. So his theory is basically if it can be applied consistently on a wide range.
But how about murder being the necessary thing in certain cases?
My argument is basically if the fact that you're able to arrive, I'm not trying to defend his
No,
ideology.
but what I'm trying to say is, like, for example, same argument could be applied for vegetarians. Murdering is bad. Why are you murdering animals?
Well, vegetarians have cognitive dissonance because they kill bees.
So, but no, the same Kantian argument about murdering, if we were to murder all the animals, then there wouldn't be any animals or whatever. Murdering an animal is when you see a lion catching a deer, how do you feel? You feel bad about it. But when it comes to you slaughtering a camel or something, you're feeling good about it. Why? Do you feel like, oh, because it's my natural need and I am okay with eating this? Or the owner of the camel allowed me to eat this. This is why I am eating it. If he said, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. But I was basically saying that if someone comes up with their own moral compass for themselves, it cannot be right. Like if someone is able to establish sitting down in a room and they're able to deduce that murder is wrong, then they are right. If they're able to arrive at the answer that murder is wrong. But it doesn't matter whether the answer is right. If the process is wrong, then your answer is wrong. So for example, Christians say you should give charity, right? But the reason for saying that is different than our reason for saying that. So therefore, their form of charity is wrong and it will not be accepted.
Again, I wouldn't be as clear-cut in this. What I'm trying to say is, honestly, I'm not talking about identifying this person, that person, for myself. If using drugs was going to give me satisfaction, I would go for drugs. Honestly. but you know that drugs are not going to give you satisfaction. It's just going to take you momentarily. Yes, it does. I mean, nobody denies that taking a drug is going to give you a satisfaction momentarily, or not murdering is not going to be bad momentarily in a certain restricted area. But I'm living a life. And in this life, drug is not the answer. Therefore, I say no. We should be comfortable saying that, yes, if I was able to find the answer, I agree with you. If you found the answer, tell it to me, and I'm going to be happy to listen from you. And be open to that. But I am sure it wouldn't satisfy. The answer wouldn't satisfy, because humanity tried to find this answer. Bits and pieces of it are there, but none of them gave us the answer that we are looking for. And even, I cannot say that, oh, I'll take part of it from Kant, part of it from Heidegger, part of it from, I don't know, Nietzsche and whatnot. I'm going to make my own pie. Still, it doesn't work. This is where we are as a civilization today. This is why I say, whomever made me should talk to me, because the one who put the questions here would put the answers as well. This is why I expect him to talk to me. Like the one who made the stomach creates the apple too. Like this is a more lower level need. Feeling of this stomach is a lower level need, and he addresses this. How about this one? How about this one? You're yearning for eternity. This is a bigger stomach. Like your intellect is a bigger stomach than your real stomach, and it's empty. Like a lot of questions, no answers. Your heart is even a huge stomach, which says, I don't want to die. I want eternity. I want eternal satisfaction. And nothing on this world is satisfying it. If your friend brings a thing which fills these two stomachs, I would happily accept. But there's none. Whomever made this can only fit this. This is why Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub makes perfect sense. Other than the remembrance of Allah, what's going to satisfy you? We should be first convinced about it ourselves, and should be able to honestly have a conversation with our friend and show our honesty, saying that really, I will go with your answer if it satisfies me. But if it does not satisfy, then you also be honest with yourself too. Let's not just fool ourselves. Job market is horrible, and I'm paying 60K. So I'll go with here first. Yes, you had a comment. Okay.
They can still have the right answer. Like if we have like a math equation and I get 2 and Abdullah gets 2, but we did it different ways, it's still the right answer, but the path is different. And I'm doing it for a different reason than not doing it. So I'm doing it because God told me to. So I expect a reward for it. And let's say, like I expect to have good deeds in my scale for it.
Okay.
They don't really expect that or want it. They're doing it for a different reason. So
and the motivation will change too. Like I would like to make a comment about this good deeds part. What is good deeds? Let's open it up, because we imagine it to be like another 4.0 in my, what's it called? GPA transcript. We turn it into some math numbers. Good deed shouldn't be considered as a mathematical equation summation, and then in average I'm going to collect more and win or lose. It should rather be, how does it change you? Because the output of this good deed is going to be changing how you are seeing things, which means, what does it mean to see things? How we are conversing with your creator. Because the ultimate goal is to be in the presence of your creator when you are here. Don't wait to go to the presence of your creator after you die. This is why prayer is the mi'raj of the believer. You can be in the presence, and we should be in the presence of our creator. This is where good deed boils down to. So if I am doing an action so that I get to know my creator better, versus another person is making the same action so that maybe just they're going to ease their pain in their heart. This might also be something. It doesn't need to be showing off. Like there's this gruntling feeling in your heart, like people are protesting for what's happening in Gaza. Maybe they're not trying to show off. Genuinely, they are worried about it and they're protesting about it. But what is the feeling? Or expressing the feeling of guilt, maybe. It's a correct act, You are being shoulder to shoulder with that person in this act, but the motivation could be very different. It's a personal reason, maybe. You know, you never know. You are concerned, and we should be concerned about our own motivations. Yes.
Two things.
Okay.
You brought up Buddhism. Buddhism, like as you talked about, like La ilaha illallah, the Iman, right? In Buddhism, they have this philosophy of like nirvana, where they're never gonna get happiness until they go through cycles of life. They're gonna do this, they're gonna be good, and it just goes on and on. So it's just not like a specific way of like going through a lifestyle to like get the happiness at the end. It's just it's like a struggle to like get nirvana. That's what they call it.
I mean, it is more so with detachment, is what I'm
Detachment, yeah.
saying. So because attachments are harming you, so get detached from them. It's a correct observation. But the problem is, how can you get detached if you are a perfect materialist in the first place? Because La ilaha illallah saves you from being a materialist. But we are living in a materialist world. The whole civilization is materialist. This is why people are going crazy. And this is why you will start seeing that companies are talking about mindfulness. They are trying to say that, yes, we put you into this hole of more and more and more, gathering more money, and you are going crazy. We see that, and we would like to milk you more. So go and have some mindfulness classes so that you're not going to go crazy, and we can get some more labor out of you, right? So, but living in such a world, and you are saying that there's nothing beyond this existence itself, what does it mean to be detached? The best way then, and I recently read that Tolstoy came to this conclusion too, then let's commit suicide. This is the only rational outcome. And I agree with that. I agree with him in the sense that if you're living such a world, committing suicide is the only rational decision.
So they'll just be reincarnated.
They will come back. So very, very bad.
Ending suffering. So like they want to commit suicide, but they can't do it.
They'll come back
That's
again.
how I-
Ooh, no escape,
And
unfortunately.
back in another form of what they do.
Okay, so it's
Like their end goal is the opposite of our end goal. Like they want just the end life, but we want the eternal happiness. They
I
just
see.
want the end of-
Emptiness.
You
Okay.
should just get a nuke and just like destroy everything. That way, everything just.
Okay, and you had a second
Yeah,
comment.
and about- where he talks about like it should be universal. Whatever decision you make, if you're in my place, you should also be able to take the same decision as me. And he also talks about like using people not as means. And as you said, like you also said that everybody could be right on their own way. But just the fact that Islam tells us, Allah tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that our life is not just there to be there. It has a purpose. We have been sent to do ibadah, right? And if we just like think of that perspective, like I think I'm saying it, I know it because I'm coming from a Muslim background. It just like makes sense for me when my creator is telling me that my life is there to do ibadah. And as I mentioned before, like everything I do can be ibadah. And that just fits so, as you said, like the filling up of the mind, the heart. And as the Kantism, Buddhism, and others too, I already told in the Quran that find another verse, find something that you can compare with Quran to like show me that it can fill your heart and brain. So in that way, I think after like the whole conversation we had, like I was just the whole time I was just thinking about like how that is the main way, like you being connected with your creator. You have the feeling that okay, my creator is there. I didn't see the creator, but he's there. I didn't ask for a healthy, no more like healthy day, but he still gave me. I didn't ask for oxygen,
Mhm.
still gave me. And the fact that, like the fact that like killing persons and everything in Gaza, like if Israeli person like kills a Palestinian, nobody's gonna say anything to them in that culture or in that boundary. They're gonna be like, oh, you killed a Palestinian. That's better for us. It's just like how, um, like your belief system, your heart, how it feels with your head,
Mhm.
and your intuition. I think it's just the fact that if you believe in Allah, like you have a separate feeling of like, I know it's true because of like logically speaking, spiritually speaking, everything just adds up.
So, and in this case, then, that answer that we have needs to be personal. How do you know that your religion is the best? We can only answer this to the extent that we are convinced. Like we would love to say, oh, Islam is the best. Why? Well, because Sheikh says so. Doesn't work like that. Why is it the best for you? And going back to Zareen's version of the question, I cannot know that it is the best unless I try everything else. Possibly, but well, like you guys are going to get married eventually. You wouldn't try all possible options out there. Like you will find someone who you are satisfied and content with, and you will say that my wife is the best on earth, and it's going to be true. So whatever works best for you is working best for you, but give it a try. I mean, theoretically, I am open to the option. If I am not satisfied with Quran, if comes a point that I'm not satisfied with Quran and it's just working, it's impossible, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to try something else. Be open to that, but at the same time, genuinely try to benefit from Quran, not as an identity, not as a culture, not as you inherited it from somebody else. Then it will, to the extent that you benefit from it, you will be convinced that it's perfect, and you can convince that it's perfect to others as well. So we are half an hour over time. So any other comments from here? No?
I just want to conclude that.
Okay.
The Islamic identity, it stems from the submission.
Yes, it needs to, your acts, your clothing, whatever you do, you will say that I am thoroughly convinced that this is how I should be. Otherwise, it's not going to be like, oh, we were like this, although Iman did not enter my heart, like as in Surah Hujurat, I am submitting, but Iman did not enter my heart. That sort of an identity is a problematic identity. You are not that person. You're just pretending to be that person. فَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. So I will need to pay attention to that. Then Iman needs to be there, but Iman is there, it needs to manifest itself in life too. Then you will, yes, demonstrate a Muslim identity, but Muslim identity means being an abd, not showing off. You are an abd before your creator. And yes, from outside, when Prophet ﷺ was making tawaf, he opened one of his shoulders. Like you're taking a stand. But this stand is coming from your Iman, not from your political agenda, political identity. Let's show off to them and beat them up. Nowadays, this is what it means to have an identity. This is not the Muslim identity we should be talking about. Things are getting mixed up. Yes, identity should be there, but not the identity that's being talked about. Religion, we are in need of religion, but not the religion that you're talking about. This is why we need to come to a conclusion about what these terms are. Yeah.
You're saying that nowadays the identities are used to unite people in a way.
Not unite, actually. Nowadays, identities are being used to split people. Everybody has a unique identity. It's just the opposite of uniting people. Today's, the identity politics is being used for separating people. This is why Black Lives Matter or anti-Islamophobia is, again, all the same political game. Like, yeah, you should preserve your Muslim identity, You should preserve your Jewish identity. You should preserve your Christian identity. Well, do not try to proselytize each other. That's the word they say. Do not try to convert each other. Respect others' opinion. But let's try to split as much as possible. And there's no interaction and whatnot. You live in your bubble. She lives in her bubble. This is inhumane. Unity means people are going to have conversation. I mean, there's going to be a struggle, but the struggle is going to be solved properly, not by killing each other. And then you will arrive somewhere. So identity politics, be careful with identity politics. Do not fall prey to the common discourse. Propaganda is so large. There's a huge propaganda going on. And saying anything against this, people will start like canceling you. Stop, like slow down and say why. Why shall I go with that? Why shall I be respectful? What does it mean to be respectful? Yes, I should be respectful, but why? What does this mean? Let's discuss. If it makes sense, I will accept. If not, I will say my opinion why I totally disagree with you. Be confident with that. It's not going to make you an infidel or unbeliever or saying that, well, how they're Muslim. No, like we are humans, folks. Okay, good. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة